being here today. Um, Basically, just to give you a little bit of a background as to what we're doing with these healthcare assessments in the counties that were heavily impacted by the hurricane. We're finding that in long term care facilities, which most of these are facilities that have a permit from the health department. There are some of them that are mental health facilities that may not have a permit. They may be alcohol treatment facilities or other facilities that DHSR asked to be visited that may not have an institution permit, although I think most of them do. But these are places that were heavily impacted that may not have um, regular source of municipal water. They may have a well or a septic system that was flooded or damaged. They may have sustained building damage or damage to the property, um, damage to the fire suppression system, or a interruption to their regular service. And DHSR really needs some assistance in kind of one, prioritizing what they need to do in all of these facilities from their end, and two, in getting these people assistance. And I'll give you one example from last week. We had an EHS go out to a nursing home on Friday, and when she got there, the facility had not been able to receive their regular supply of oxygen because the deliveries and stuff had been impacted from the roads being impacted and just interruption to the delivery. So when she got there, the nursing staff told her that they didn't have enough oxygen for the residents. Obviously that's not something that normally environmental health specialists, know anything about or do anything with, but for these visits, those are the kinds of things that we're there to kind of assess. And so that was recorded on the sheet um, and put into the needs assessment. We were able to send that up through the EOC, and they were able to put that in as a request and get those residents the oxygen that they needed. So those are the kinds of things that we're able to assist with, along with our normal, cleaning and disinfecting assistance, talking to them about food safety things. Um, Laundry is a big thing right now because they may not have access to their regular laundry facilities and other things like that. So we're going to take just a few minutes to go over the checklist that we developed with myself and the folks from Communicable Disease Infection Prevention and CDC. And I'll tell you right now that it's not perfect. The questions could be worded better. And, it's like I said, it's not perfect. We did this from the time that we identified this as a need to getting this into the field was about 5 days. So, don't you know all of this has to be kind of flexible and fluid, and understand that like none of this is going to be perfect, but we're doing this really to try to, like I said, get people the help that they need and find the really critical things that people are missing, or the big challenges that people have, to make sure that folks are safe and that they can get the supplies or their critical needs met. if that makes sense. So like I said, this is not about things being in any sort of perfect circumstance, because it will not be. So does anybody have any questions before we start to go over the checklist?
For the example that you provided, Veronica, about the lack of adequate oxygen supplies, what category would this fall under? Would we just include that as an additional note?
Yes.
In our
So it
email
was just
response?
when the EHS was walking through the facility that, they were like, we don't have enough oxygen. Like our patients don't have, or our residents don't have enough oxygen. And so she just, put that on the checklist as a need. And so we just communicated that back to the EOC. So there's like a other at the end, and so she just wrote that in at the end.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, so another thing, like wound care supplies is a big thing. There may be, like wound care supplies, or, like patient care items. If their deliveries got really messed up, they may not have like their like adult diapers, or I don't know if like their medications got really messed up and their like pharmacy supplies are a big problem, or IV supplies, those kinds of things could be a problem, or like the oxygen, not saying that you need to be in the medical space, but they will tell you if they're having, like major supply issues, and all you have to do is provide that information back. You don't have to be able to assess, oh yeah, you really don't have enough oxygen. You're just providing that information. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Maybe. Um, why is this not showing up? Give me just a second. Nope. Not that. Feel free to ask any questions that you want. And you can do this a couple of different ways. You can print these and take them into the field from this checklist, or fill it out as like a Word document and save it. Or you can use the REDCap survey form that I sent you and fill it out online and submit it. If you don't want to fill it out twice, and you would rather fill it out on the Word document or on paper, if you send those to me, then I will enter them for you. Or you can fill it out directly online, and then it will submit, and I can look at those from REDCap. But I'm happy to enter them for you if you do it in Word or on paper, and you get those, take a picture of them. If you do them on paper and you take a picture of them, you send them to me, I'll enter them for you. If you save them in Word and you send them to me, I'll enter them for you. I'm not trying to make your life difficult. If you look at the version on REDCap, the NA says unknown, and I know those two things don't mean the same thing. Again, this is not perfect. Think about where it says unknown as kind of meaning the same thing as NA. So again, I know that that's a little bit of a challenge there, and it gets a little confusing, but that's just how the form transferred over into REDCap. But you're just gonna, the facility name, address, and county are gonna be provided to you when you get your assignment list. And then this first section is really just the like building assessment piece. Do you see any like flood water damage to the building? other just like water damage that maybe came from, like heavy rain on the ceiling or walls. Was there any major roof or ceiling damage or structural damage that you can tell? Obviously, you're not a building inspector, so I'm not asking you to be able to, assess the structural integrity, but if you see any structural damage, just, note that there. Do you see visible mold growth? Um, any water damage to the furniture or other things? Is the HVAC system functioning to the point it's starting to get very cold in the mountains? So, are they able to heat the building? Um, is the fire suppression system working? This is one, especially in places where if the water system is not functioning right now, which there still are some places where where they don't have their regular municipal water, and so their sprinkler system is not currently working. So make sure you ask about that and make a note. In those places, they're supposed to have a fire watch, which means like people walking around making sure the building's not catching fire. Um, check for pests and just other general safety hazards. And then, I know that we know some about Legionella. We're all not Legionella experts, as these buildings and their water systems sat potentially for days or weeks with the water stagnant, or if they've got areas where the pipes, the water in the pipes are not moving, if that water had heavy amounts of organic material in it where there was a lot of buildup. If you're seeing anything that concerns you from a Legionella standpoint, go ahead and mark that, because we can get them some information about cleaning, flushing their pipes, or ask them about their water management plan. We definitely don't want to add increased Legionella risk on top of the concerns that we already have with the flood and the other issues that we're having. So just ask them a little bit about how they return to using their water system if their water was out for a while, or if they're still not using their water, make sure that they understand about flushing their water system, and we can provide them with information about returning to using their building, if their water system is out of use. This next section is about their water and sewer or well and septic. So these questions, not all of them are going to apply, because some of them are about well and septic. Some of them are about city water, city sewer. So just answer, the ones that are relevant. Is there municipal sewer? And again, like I said, these questions aren't perfect. So ideally they all would be written so you would answer them like all either like yes or no. So the sewer questions are they damaged, and then the water question is it functioning? So obviously those are answered opposite ways. Those should have been written differently, but just pay attention to that. Is the facility currently under a boil water notice or a boil water advisory? They may not know how to answer that question. If you're in Asheville, the answer to that question is they're under a boil water notice. that's about the only place that I know of where that is the answer to that question. That the answer is it's a notice. There are other places that are under advisories. If they don't know the answer, that's okay. If they have questions about that, I can look it up. So you can always like send me a text or call me and we can, get the information about that. If they have a well, especially in like a residential care or something, please make sure you look at it and see if it's been flooded or damaged, because that is really important. Okay, are there any questions so far?
I've got a question, Veronica.
Okay.
There was a map that was distributed for the waters with the issues in these counties. Do you know if
Mhm.
that's still current? Should we
It
use
is.
that with
It
this
is. And
assessment?
I can distribute that. It can be a little bit hard to read, but it is that public water supply map is correct. So I can distribute that. If you would like to have access to it, it's a map that Public Water Supply put out that has the status of all the water supply systems. So you can look at that and see if you can get information about the water system that they're on if people have questions. Shelby, did you have a question?
Yeah, one was I'm looking through the emails and looking for this red cap survey. Where would that email? Where would that have come through at?
I thought that I attached the link, but if I didn't, I will send it out to everybody. Um, and it will just be like a survey link, and just every time you want to enter it, you just open the survey and enter a new um,
And the other
entry.
question, yeah, okay. And the other, so you're going to send that link. And
Mhm.
then the other question I had was with the water tanker trucks. Is there anything we need to look at in regards to that water supply to make sure that they're verified as a, they're not using some type of fertilizer truck to.
Yeah, so if you, and that's this next section is like for the alternate water. There are some places that have dug emergency wells or temporary wells, and those are a little tricky because public water supply allows for temporary wells to be put in that are used for less than 59 days, and then they fall into this like weird like they don't have to meet the public water supply rules, um and then they don't really like have like a real set of rules. So, and there are places that put in wells to get a temporary water source. So you can ask about that. And if you find one of those, just let me know and we can talk through whether they're using a temporary well. If there's a water tanker truck hooked up, it should be a water tanker truck. So a potable water tanker that is used for only water. It should be filled with water from a verified municipal supply. So they should be able to tell you where that water came from. And then so the companies that are doing this, there's a couple of them, and they should be able to give you the information about like how they're testing the chlorine residual and how they're like cleaning the tankers and the lines and how they're providing backflow prevention. If you happen across something that is funky looking, then just give me a call. There are also places that have pressurized like those big water bladders. They're like the big cubes of water, and with lines, and hook them directly into their plumbing. So not the full tanker truck, but like a smaller, like, I don't know, they're like 2,000 gallons or something, like water cube, that are refilled. And those can be pressurized directly into the water system. Those are refilled like by the big water tanker trucks, by those same companies. And that water is delivered usually daily. So there's one company in Asheville and the surrounding areas, Davis Water. That guy sends me his chlorine logs every day and his list of like all of his like stops and everything every day. So like I know exactly like everything that he's doing every day. There are a couple other smaller companies that are still, like doing a good job with those water tanks. They just aren't doing as many jobs. But Davis Water is like the big company in Nashville that's doing the water tanks. So you may see those. And I know they've got they've got the hospital in Avery County hooked up to a tanker and some other things. So, but if you see something that looks like shady, please give me a call. And I mean, early on, there were some like people running around like handing out well water and doing some crazy things. Hopefully a lot of that has been taken care of, but in some of these long-term care facilities, we don't necessarily know if anybody's spoken to them. So it is important to make sure that you ask them about what the water is and where it's coming from. And if you run into something weird, just give me a call and we'll talk through it. And then if they don't have water coming out of their tap, they will need some sort of alternate like shower facility and toilet facility. They may have hopefully, ideally, like shower trailers and toilet trailers. They may end up with like chemical toilets or like porta potties. And if they have any of that, they need to make sure they have a service contract where they're emptying those and all of that stuff looks like it's being taken care of. Okay, so then this second page is a little more procedural stuff. The first part of this is mostly environmental health stuff that you guys should feel pretty comfortable with. Asking about hand washing supplies, cleaning and disinfecting, laundry. If they don't have running water for laundry, they, should be probably sending it out or doing something. They can't just like wash in gray water over and over. We did see some of that early on in some of these facilities where they were, like washing in a tub of water and then, washing the next load in that same tub of water, which they can't do that. So make sure you're asking about laundry procedure, especially if they don't have running water. Ask about dumpster emptying, particularly if the roads are an issue and they may have trouble getting the dumpsters empty because we don't want to have pest issues. The bedpans and emesis basins and all that stuff that you would see in like a regular institution inspection. Don't spend an entire institution inspections worth of time looking at that stuff. Make sure they have enough of them, that they're labeling them, that they're cleaning the bedside commodes and the shower chairs and those types of things, especially in places where water may be a challenge. and just ask them, how they're doing that. Make sure they have enough cleaning chemicals, and they're getting that stuff frequently, and that they're able to get all the cleaning chemicals that they need, and that they're able to clean their restroom and bathing facilities. This next set of things is a little more infection prevention stuff, which we are less familiar with. I need you to ask these questions, and then do your best on these. If you have infection prevention questions, I will give you a contact with the infection prevention section that you can follow up with, or just, get the information and then we can send it on to them. Make sure that they have what they need for respiratory care, in terms of again, that some of that would be the oxygen and the supplies there, tubing and masks, and other, just anything else that they may need for CPAPs or other things. Especially if they don't have water, ask them about personal hygiene supplies, like bathing wipes, or other supplies like that. Make sure they have, soap and other supplies that they need for personal hygiene. Hopefully you're not seeing a lot of feeding tubes, but make sure, that they're cleaning and handling those appropriately. If they have any patient care equipment that appears to be contaminated, or if you ask them about how they handle possibly contaminated patient care equipment, make sure that they understand how to do that, and that they're not reusing contaminated equipment. Most places aren't sterilizing stuff in-house, but because water is an issue, that is a big concern. And again, this is not anywhere near our expertise, but if they are sterilizing stuff in-house, they have to make sure that their water meets the standards. So ask the question, if they are sterilizing in-house, ask them about their water source. And then if you have questions, like I said, I'll give you the contact for the infection prevention folks, and you can follow up with them if there are concerns about how they are doing sterilization of items. I don't think you will find many people doing that in these places, hopefully. Are there any questions there? The last section is very basic kitchen stuff. I do not want you to spend a whole food inspection time in the kitchen. Mostly, if they have water issues, like they're under a boil water notice or boil water advisory, or they don't have running water, making sure that they know how they're going to prepare the food, use water for cleaning and sanitizing, and then what water they're going to use as a cooking ingredient, making sure that there's no power issues, so the the coolers and stuff still work. I'm not asking you to do like a procedural risk-based inspection where you're like watching them to make sure that they're properly cooking and all of those things. That's not what this visit is for. We're there to assess issues that are associated with, water, wastewater, building damage, interruptions to delivery, and those types of things associated with the storm. So don't get hung up doing a, restaurant inspection or a food service inspection, because otherwise you could end up being there for a really long time, and that's not really what this was designed to do. Hopefully that makes sense. Does anybody have any questions about that?
Veronica, I do have a question on scheduling. How is this going to go for deployment? Like, how do we determine? Do we just email you and let you know what days that we're available, or how does that work for scheduling purposes?
Yeah, so for those of you who are scheduled to leave out this after this to like travel to Haywood, Henderson, or Buncombe, I will send you your list of places, and if for some reason you don't get to all of them, that's fine. If you run out for some reason, you can either go home or ask for more. We can talk about that. For those of you in Mecklenburg, I would like to know whether you live either so people who live in like the Huntersville, Denver area, McDowell County is is about an hour and 15 minutes. And then for those of you who live sort of like Charlotte west towards like Gaston, Rutherford County is like hour and 15 minutes. So like I think that that's going to be the best way to split. So I can provide a list. Your drive time is included in your day. So we'll keep that in mind as well. So you can drive down there, do your assessments and then drive home. I don't want you to like extend your day, by that drive time. And yeah, I mean, I also don't know, like, I'm not your like actual boss. So I don't know, Crystal, if you like have thoughts on like how you want them to like work.
Yeah, so any Mecklenburg staff, once you get internal clearance, and I'll work through that process with you, once that's completed, then you're approved to go. And then that's when we'll reach out to Veronica. And according to where you live, we'll kind of match you with a county that's closest for your driving time, and then we'll proceed from there.